Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and today's video is a very special one. Today I'm going to show you my eyeshadow palette collection and declutter video. I'm definitely sure that I want to get rid of some of them and I don't want to keep things I'm not longer reaching for because I don't want to have palettes only for collecting purposes. I'm definitely not a collector kind of person. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and now let's hop right into the video. First we have the Douce palette by Juvia's Place. It has such a beautiful packaging, I really love it. The color story inside of the palette is also quite unique and I like it a lot. It is my only Juvia's Place palette at the moment and so far I'm really impressed with the formula. The shimmer shadows perform so buttery and smooth, and they have the perfect metallic sheen to them. This color here is such a unique reddish brown, I really love it. The mattes in this palette are very buttery and easy to blend. Then these two here are my least favorite in this palette. The light matte here is just too light to use it in your crease and the dark brown here is a bit harder to blend, so sometimes it gets a bit patchy. It is okay, but I have better ones in other palettes. This color here is a stunning duochrome with shifts from pink to blue and I think I will be filming another look with this shadow very soon. So yes, I really like this palette. I'm thinking about depotting it at some point, but not now, so that I can get more use out of the shadows. And I'm definitely going to keep it. Now here are my Makeup Revolution palettes. And to be honest, I haven't been the biggest fan of their eyeshadow formula in the past. This has been my first palette from Makeup Revolution. It's the Soft X Makeup Revolution palette, and for the very neutral color story, I just have so many better palettes in my collection. And I think the quality is okay, and for drugstore it's pretty decent, but it is definitely not a palette I ever reach for, so I'm going to declutter this one. I think I will be giving it away to a friend who doesn't have a lot of eyeshadow palettes and who would be getting more use out of it than I have. The next one here I bought during my summer holiday in Germany. It is the Reloaded Division palette. We have been visiting my boyfriend's family and there has been a drugstore in which I could find Makeup Revolution, and I thought I might try their formula again, and because it looked like a dupe for the Subculture palette, on which I always had an eye on, I bought it. The formula in this one is just not as good as I was expecting, and the mattes have almost no pigment, and when you try to build them up they blend away to nothing. So it's definitely not my favorite palette and I'm going to get rid of it. Now we have the Avocado Palette. This is one of my recent purchases. I bought this one and the Forever Flawless Eyes palette in August, and I think I only tried them because Teresa from Teresa is Dead and Paulina from Paulina's Beauty both say that this palette is so good, and I thought I want to try the formula again. And because I often really like the color stories of Makeup Revolution palettes, I really want their palettes to be good, and the price point is also very good, so I really wanted to like their eyeshadow formula. The inside of this palette is even more beautiful than the outside, and I'm so happy that I tried this palette because it's a beautiful palette and I think the formula is totally different than from the other two palettes I showed you before. The matte shadows are at first very sheer, but you can build them up easily and they layer beautiful above each other. I already filmed a tutorial with this palette and it is up already, and I will link it down below if you want to watch it. Now what really sold me on this palette are the shimmer shadows in here. They are so beautiful and I love that most of them are more on the minty tealy side and not on the yellowy greeny side. And I just love these colors, and now I have 5 more of them in a beautiful gradient in this palette. So I'm really happy that I have this palette and I love it, and I'm definitely going to keep it. Now the same goes for my Forever Flawless Eyes palette. It is the same beautiful formula as in the Avocado palette. Beautiful metallic shadows and first sheer but buildable mattes. And I like a sheer but buildable formula, And I think especially with more intimidating colors like greens and blues, it can be easier to work with a formula like this. So I can highly recommend these two palettes if you are looking for blues and greens. These shadows here are my most favorite in this palette. Look at these shimmers. The shade Titanic is so stunning and the silver here is also pretty amazing. It is such a beautiful palette. I have already created some looks with the Avocado palette and this one here combined, and I think it's a perfect match. I have a video up where I compared this palette to the Jeffree Star Blue Blood palette, so if you're interested, I will be linking it down below in the description box. And I think if you are looking for a blue eyeshadow palette, I can absolutely recommend this one, and I'm definitely going to keep it. Now we are coming to my Morphe palettes. This here is the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Vault collection, and I have all 4 of the palettes. The first one is the Bling Boss palette. There was some drama with the quality of these palettes when they first came out, and also after they tried to fix the quality issues, there have still been some palettes with these issues. I ordered my palettes from the European Morphe side and I got the bad ones and I could return them, and they sent me a whole new collection of all 4, and it was really easy to get them replaced. And now I think the quality is really good and I don't have any issues at all. I especially love the purple one. The mattes in here are very beautiful and easy to work with, and the metallics are so stunning. I know they look all the same on camera, but they are having all a different tone to them and they are all beautiful. So I really like this palette and I'm going to keep it. Next we have the Dark Magic palette, and I thought this would be my favorite out of the 4, but it actually is my least favorite. I think the green and blue matte shadows in this palette are a bit harder to work with than I would like them to be, but I love the browns in here and especially this cool toned one here. Unfortunately, I dropped this palette and the black shadow broke, so now it is quite messy to use it, and I think I will be depotting this palette so that I can keep only the ones that I like, and I'm going to get rid of the other shadows that I don't use. This one here is the Armed and Gorgeous palette, and I love this palette. It has some great warm toned browns and absolutely beautiful metallic shadows. The white shimmer here is a stunning inner corner highlight. I love these gold metallics as well, and I don't wear gold eyeshadow a lot, but when I do reach for golds, it's always one from this palette or from the South Trip palette. The last one is the Ring the Alarm palette, and for me there could have been some more lighter red tones in this one because there are already some browns in the Armed and Gorgeous palette, but the shadows in here are also very beautiful. I especially like these 2 shimmers here, and the matte browns are also really good, and I like to combine this one and the Armed and Gorgeous palette a lot. I think I'm going to create some videos with this palette for fall, because in fall I start to gravitate more towards reds than I'm during the summertime, and I think a beautiful red look with this palette could be perfect for fall, so I'm going to keep this one too, and I think there will be a video up with this one very soon. Now here is the original Jaclyn Hill palette. I got it maybe half a year after it launched, and I think it is a beautiful warm neutral palette. The quality is amazing, and if you are looking for one standard warm toned palette, I can highly recommend this one. Although I think it is a bit too big for my liking. The only shadows that aren't performing that well are the darker ones here at the bottom. They can be a bit patchy, but they are still workable. I especially love the 2 highlighter shades here. I think they are perfection because they are looking like pure light, because they don't have any glitter in them and they are just light reflecting, but so bright, it's so beautiful. The other metallics in this palette are also very buttery and beautiful. I love this champagne one here and the pinky tones up here. I know a lot of the browns in here look the same, but they give you the opportunity for the most stunning gradient you could ever wish for in a palette. And I think that's a look Jaclyn Hill is known for the best. I think I'm going to depot this palette because there are so many shades in here that I truly love and that I want to use more, but I never reach for this palette because it is so big. Some shades in here I could pass on to someone else, like this blue down here or some of the bronze colors. I rarely ever wear bronze eyeshadow, so I think that's what I'm going to do with this palette. And please let me know down below in the comments if you want me to film my depotting process. Next I have the DECLUTTER palette by Dominic Cosmetics, and I think the quality of this palette is absolutely amazing. The mattes are very buttery and they blend into each other like a dream, but for me personally they almost blend too well together, because in the end it almost looks like you have put on one eyeshadow, and I find it a bit hard to create enough dimension with these shadows. The dark brown is just not dark enough for my taste, but I think that a lot of people would like this palette, especially if you like to wear warm tones, then this one is a great palette for you. I especially love these three metallic shadows down here. They are so wet and foiled looking, and they have beautiful micro glitter particles in them. I'm really in love with this metallic formula, and I think they are some of the best metallics in my whole collection. I'm always checking her new palette releases, and if she brings out a palette with the color story I truly want, I might pick up another one from her, because the formula is so beautiful. For now it is going to stay in my collection. Now we come to my little Colorpop collection. I love Colorpop so much and I love their eyeshadow formula. It's just a bit expensive to get it to Europe and it takes a very long time, but I still love Colorpop so much, so I placed an order in June and I think I purchased 3 palettes that I always wanted. And the first one is the Blue Moon palette. It is a beautiful little blue palette, and if you have ever thought purchasing some blue eyeshadows, I absolutely recommend this palette. This one here in the middle, Billie Jean, is my favorite shadow in this palette. The quality and the color of it is just perfection for me. I'm going to swatch some of my favorite shadows from this palette for you, because I have such a fair skin tone and I'm always on the hunt for light metallic shadows like this, and I always wanted to have a pale blue like this one, so this color is my dream color and I'm so happy that I have it in here. Also, this color here is a beautiful duochrome white with a strong blue shift to it, and I really like topper shadows like this a lot. So I really love this palette and I'm definitely going to keep it. I also got the Mar palette together with the Blue Moon one and the Zodiac palette, and I have to say that this is my least favorite out of all my Colorpop palettes. The colors in here are just too warm toned and I don't like these copper and bronze tones. Also, it isn't my favorite formula in this palette, I don't know why. The metallics are a bit lackluster for me and the colors aren't exactly what I thought they would be. I don't know, but this palette just isn't it for me, so I'm going to declutter this one. Next is my You Had Me at Hello palette, and this has been my first palette I ever purchased from Colorpop, and I really like this one. It has these more grungy and muted down colors that really go very well together, and I can create one of my favorite looks with this palette, which is a kind of a grungy sunset look, and I love this palette for these colors here. I love this light mustardy yellow and this muted down purple. The shimmers in here are beautiful too, and it has a nice range of neutrals, so I'm definitely going to keep this one. Next we have my Zodiac palette. It has been a collab with Kathleen Lights, who is very much into zodiac signs, and I really like the theme of this palette. The packaging of this palette is the most beautiful packaging I have ever seen on a palette, and I love it so much that I would keep this palette only for the packaging itself. But I'm also a huge fan of the inside of this palette. I really like the color story in here, and I think that you can create a lot of different looks with it. I think this palette would also be a great starter palette if you want to have some good staple neutrals and some pops of color in a palette. This is it. I love this light peach metallic, this purple and also this teal. These are my favorite shadows from this palette. I think it is a great palette and I'm definitely going to keep it. Now here's my only Makeup Geek palette. I do have quite some singles from Makeup Geek and I love them, but this palette was a bit disappointing for me. I thought that the color Wine Barrel here would be a nice cool tone transition shade, but it is way too dark for me. And then you have this matte bone shade here, and I think in an 8-pan palette you really wouldn't need this shadow. The metallics aren't my favorite formula as well in here, and I just feel uninspired by this palette and I never reach for it. The quality of the mattes is okay, but I feel like the singles are a bit better, so I'm going to get rid of this palette. Next is my only remaining BH Cosmetics palette. I have had the Color Festival palette, but I recently depotted it and added some of the shades to my singles collection, so I don't have the palette anymore to show you, but I still have some of the shadows. This one here is the Bronze Paradise palette, and I think it's a beautiful warm tone summer palette. The quality of the shadows is amazing and you get some creamy mattes and a lot of shimmers in here, together with a highlighter and a bronzer. And I think this palette might be suited best for people who don't have a big makeup collection. So I think I will be giving this palette away also. It is beautiful. I never reach for it and I have someone in mind who might use it a lot more than I do and who would really enjoy having this palette. Now this one here is the AYN Bright Palette by Beauty Bay. I purchased it because I thought when I want to start a YouTube channel I need a stable rainbow palette in my collection. But I only used it once on my channel and I have been using 3 of the neutrals in here and then 2 metallics. So I think this palette is not made for me. I'm just not into rainbow palettes and I'm also not into big palettes, so this one is not the one for me. I like smaller or medium-sized, more curated color stories, and I just never ever reach for something like this. So I will be giving this one to my mom because she does a lot of stage makeup for dance shows and she might need some of the colors from time to time, so I think she will be getting a lot more use out of this one than I do. The quality of this palette is totally fine. I think the mattes are blending very easily, they are more on the sheer side but they are buildable. And the metallics are also pretty good. I have filmed my Arabic inspired eye makeup look with this palette. I will link it down below if you're interested in seeing it. And as I mentioned, I will be giving away this palette to my mom. Now here are all my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. First we have the Modern Renaissance palette and I absolutely love this palette. I love that you have a lot of mattes in this palette. You have a bunch of warm tones but also some cool tones. And that to me is perfect because I can create every neutral look I want with this palette. If you layer these 3 shadows over here, you get the most beautiful warm toned gradient. The 2 shimmer shadows, Vermeer and Primavera, are nice everyday shimmers, but they are a bit lackluster. So I like to wear the mattes in here more than the shimmers. Warm Taupe is, against its name, a beautiful cool tone transition shade. My favorite shade in this palette is Red Ochre, and it's a shadow where I would have never thought that I would like it that much. But it is the most beautiful deepening shade on the outer corner for an all matte warm toned look. It's such a creamy texture. Here you can see the difference in tone with Warm Taupe. I'm also going to swatch Vermeer for you. It's a very soft pearl color. And I'm not so sure if you can see it on camera. I still like this palette a lot and I love to take it for traveling with me, so I'm going to keep it. If you want to see a video on my go-to matte warm toned look with this palette, then let me know down below in the comments and I would love to film it for you. Next we have the Sultry palette. This is the first Anastasia palette I got as soon as it launched. This palette has some beautiful cool toned mattes and some warm tones in it, but I especially love this palette for the metallics in here. They are some of my all-time favorites because the formula of these is so good. I have to swatch some of them for you, and I also like the variety of tones you get. You have some really nice golds and bronzes in here, but it's not too warm and not too copper, and you have a pearl, a rose gold, a stunning almost purple toned silver. I mean, look at these shadows. They are so beautiful. I also like that there is a dark brown and a black in here, and to be honest, it's my absolute go-to palette when it comes to neutral glam and evening looks, because it offers me everything I could want. But I can also tone it down and wear it for everyday looks, so I guess it's no surprise that I'm going to keep it. Next is my beloved Riviera palette, and I have done a lot of looks with this palette for my channel, so I will link the playlist with this palette down below in the description box. Coastline is my favorite coral shadow of all time. This white matte here is one of the best white mattes in my collection. The shimmer shadows in the top row are all so beautiful, and I love the quality of them. It's the same formula as the ones in the Sultry palette, and these colors are just looking so stunning. I don't know what it exactly is, but just the way the colors are laid out is so beautiful. Every time I open this palette, my heart makes a jump as if I'm falling in love with it for the first time. So you guessed right, I'm keeping this one as well. Now here's the newest addition to my Anastasia collection. It's the Novena palette, and I got it as a gift for my 30th birthday from a very dear friend, and I couldn't believe it because I wanted this palette for so long. I'm so grateful that I got it, and I always thought that this palette was made for me. It has such beautiful and soft periwinkle colors in it, and also some great neutral colors. If I would describe my taste at the moment, I would say that I want to wear eye looks that make me think of fairies and mermaids, because I just love blue, teal and purples and light pinks together or alone. And this palette here combines all of it. Because the colors in here are so soft and kind of muted down, it's perfect for every day. The shadow I love the most in here is definitely Soul. It is this beautiful blue with a purple tint to it, and I love to wear it in my crease for an easy everyday look. I also love the color Drama together with this burgundy color here. These are stunning shadows, and I will be definitely uploading some looks with this palette very soon, and I'm definitely be keeping this palette. Now here are my Jeffree Star palettes. I have 4 of them, but I'm sure that I'm parting with one of them. Let's start with the Minibreaker palette. It is my newest one, and I think it is a great 9-pan palette with a unique and fun color story. Oral is a cool purple and blue duochrome. I really love Jeffree's matte formula, and the ones in here are all absolutely stunning. I just uploaded a video where I used these 3 shadows together for a soft sunset moment, and it turned out really beautiful. I really wish that he comes out with more shadows like Oral in the future, and I really enjoy this palette, so I'm going to keep it. Now here is my Alien palette, and I know that it is maybe more of an unpopular opinion, but I think this is the best palette he has ever released so far. But I don't have the big Jawbreaker palette, so I don't know how that performs. If you have seen my 30th birthday look video, you may know by now that I'm absolutely in love with the shade Tall Grey, which is a stunning bluish grey. And I also love the purple in here and these 2 shimmers. They are Interstellar, which is a stunning gold with a grey and green shift to it. And Pluto is one of my all-time favorite inner corner highlights. It is a white with a strong light gold shift to it. I have to say that I rarely ever use these greens in here so far, but for me this is kind of a perfect everyday palette, and it might sound a bit strange to some of you, but I just love matte cool tones, and I love good matte purples for deepening up the outer corner. And I think you get some really nice warm transition shades as well in here. This duochrome metallic down here is also a very unique and beautiful shade. Because I love this palette so much, I thought about creating some fun looks with it for fall and Halloween time. And let me know down below in the comments if you want to see it. Because something about this palette just reminds me of Halloween. It's the combination of green and purple and these grungy tones down here. I'm thinking about some fun looks to film for you guys, and I'm absolutely going to keep this palette. Now here's the Blood Sugar palette. I didn't wanted to get this palette at first because I'm not the biggest fan of red tones on my eyes, but I had to return something and then I got this palette instead because everyone seemed to love this palette so much. My concern with this palette is the same as with the DECLUTTER palette by Dominic Cosmetics. The mattes have a beautiful buttery formula, but they blend so well into each other that they look almost the same on the eye. For me, I think it is ridiculous to keep this palette because I never ever reach for it. The metallics in here aren't my favorite formula, and they don't have the kind of impact I like in metallics, and I think someone else would use this palette a lot more than I do. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I don't want to keep stuff only for collecting purposes, so I will be giving away this one. Now this is my Blue Blood palette, and I filmed quite some videos with this one for my channel. The color scheme for me is what dreams are made of, and I absolutely love the packaging too. The two shadows that aren't performing that well in here are these two. My favorite shadows in here are these shimmers. They both are very beautiful. I do like this muted down bluish gray color and this cool tone brown as well very much. I do think though that this isn't the most easy to use palette to have. You need some time to get these shadows to work the way you want them to, but I think you can create a lot of beautiful looks with this palette. The shadow that bothered me the most in here is this metallic blue. It is so crumbly that I have it all over my face when I try to use it, which is a shame because it is a stunning color. And this shadow here is supposed to be a satin, and I just don't like satins. These two mattes down here are perfect for deepening up looks, and these three over here are some of my favorite colors in this palette. I'm definitely not reaching for this palette a lot lately because I have so many other blue eyeshadows in my collection that are just a bit easier to use, but I still love this palette and I'm going to keep it. Now here you can see how many palettes I'm going to keep. I think I have quite a nice range of palettes and also a good number for me personally, so that I'm not feeling overwhelmed by the amount of it. If you want me to film looks with any of the palettes I have mentioned in this video, please let me know down below. And here are the palettes I'm going to get rid of. By the time you are watching this video, I may have already given all of them away to friends and family and so on. I do have a single collection as well, and if you want to see it, I would love to film it for you. And if you like this video, then please hit the like button and join the family and hit the subscribe button. I'm also on Instagram if you want to follow me there. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you all an awesome day.